Hi, good morning and good afternoon. My name is Derek Wazinski, and I'm the Director of Sales for Parallels Americas. This webinar is entitled today, Work from Home in the Age of Corona. We're going to be getting started here in just a couple of minutes. I wanted to go ahead and first communicate to you a couple of things about the webinar. The webinar is being recorded, so you will be provided a link to the recorded webinar after, obviously after the webinar itself. We're also providing a copy of the deck, a copy of the presentation to people and organizations that do ask for it. Like most people, right now, I am working from home, from my home office. So if you do hear some large barking and sounds in the background, I am not being consumed by wolves. I have 3 dogs. Between them, they weigh about 250 pounds in total. So it's probably just the mail that's being delivered. So I apologize in advance for any sounds that you hear in the background. And that's kind of what we're going to be talking about a little bit about how things really are changing and how we're going to need to change in this new age that we find ourselves in. If you do have questions, those of you who obviously used WebEx before, you can utilize the chat function for questions. At any time in the presentation, you can go ahead and chat a question, and I'll go ahead in the wrap up and make sure that either all those questions are answered either by myself or one of our technical people that are on the line right now, or we'll be able to go ahead and answer your question offline for you as well. So I do thank you for your time, and it is now 10:05, so let's go ahead and get started. The title of this presentation, the title of this webinar is Work from Home in the Age of Corona, Business Continuity and Remote Work. When I decided to go ahead and put together this webinar, I really wanted to think about what was the primary reason why. We are at Parallels a work from home organization. We are a remote work organization, and our solutions are remote work and work from home solutions. So we've been talking about this and doing this ourselves for a number of years. The last 20 years, we've been a leader in virtualization in that aspect. However, you know, what's going on right now and what is work from home in this particular age we find ourselves in? And I, for one, feel that work from home in the age of Corona is really just the natural evolution of the workplace to a more remote or work from home kind of framework, accelerated due to the global pandemic that we find ourselves in. I can tell you anecdotally, and I can also give you statistics that almost every business we interact with right now has an immediate need to take all of the technologies, all of the processes, all of the functions that they do within their physical office workspace and somehow get it in a remote or a work from home framework. Now, we've been doing that for quite a few years with many of our customers, right? And many people would work with us and talk to us about how do we go ahead and get people working from home? How do we virtualize desktops? How do we do all these things? And we'd provide them arguments about what are some of the biggest benefits of working remotely. And I'm sure you've been to presentations and webinars that had this type of information. And we would normally get, you know, for the companies and for the organizations that were really kind of giving us the old Heisman and pushing back against putting out a large virtualization or remote project, it was primarily they talked about productivity. They were worried about their end users' productivity because, quite honestly, for the last 120 years in Western society, we've been learning how people can be productive in an actual office environment. And people working remotely is kind of the antithesis of that. Even in high tech or what you would think to be knowledge worker based career paths, people they have this idea that productivity in an office is easier than having a remote workforce. They also would talk about, listen, you know, I have an IT organization that was built to service people either on-prem or within my wide area network in my physical plant locations, right? I don't have the resources or the capabilities to support remote workers. Yeah, maybe we can support a couple of remote salespeople, and maybe we can have a couple people in marketing or that work remotely, or maybe a developer or two that works remotely, but we don't have the infrastructure capable of supporting a 20, 30, 40, 100% remote workforce. And then there was always the conversation about teamwork. that we love working from home and flex schedules, but the problem is that workers require interactions. They require physical meetings, and remote work is best suited for people that are like individual contributors, but people that have to work on teams should be working together in a physical place. And one of the biggest examples of this is how Yahoo a few years back went from a more remote work flex time schedule, and they brought all their people back into physical offices in order to do that. And when we had these conversations, we would go ahead and provide all of this data in the what I call the old normal days, where we would say, you know what, the global mobile workforce is expanding, and it's going to be expanding exponentially over the next couple years. So many mobile devices are out there that people are looking forward to working remotely. They can work on apps remotely. They don't have to sit at a desk and do the work that they normally did. 92% of organizations actually believe that mobile apps were going to give them a competitive edge when they were dealing with their competitors. So we would talk about how much time and effort and energy and money organizations would save and spend in regards to making a portion of their workforce work in a remote or a work from home structure. That was the old normal. In the new normal, these what we call in the sales world objections, or these comments from IT organizations or C-levels about remote work and work from home and why it's not going to work for them. I grew up in a city called Detroit. We were known for manufacturing and cars and everything else, and we used to have a saying when I was growing up, and we used to say, that sounds like a Cadillac problem. What it sounds like somebody complaining about their Cadillac, someone complaining that their diamond shoes are too tight. We no longer have the luxury in the world that we live in right now and for the foreseeable future to talk about productivity, to talk about support, to talk about teamwork, because the necessity is now that we need to go ahead and construct. And many of you are on this webinar because you need to construct a plan, a process, a functionality, an ecosystem where you can go ahead and get your people working as productively as possible from a remote setting. Now this is probably, as you can see from and we pull this from Tech Target. There's other instances of this all over the internet. The very first thing health organizations, other organizations are saying is, if employees can work from home, let them work. Well, actually, the first thing they're saying is wash your hands. That's the very first thing they're saying. But the second thing they're saying is, if you are given the ability, if your business model gives you the capability to allow your workers to work from home, you need to do that. And there's a number of reasons for doing that, the sense of business continuity and others. One of the, and I'm just going to bring up some key facts that I have found within the new normal. And again, we will not only provide you with this presentation, but also all of the back data and the back the citations for this data that we're finding here. The Economic Policy News says by July 1st, 20 million people in the United States alone are going to be either out of work or furloughed. For those of you that are keeping track at home, that's 15% of the United States workforce. That is a real number. That's a real fear that's out there in the world right now. And so if you have the capability to keep people employed, to keep your business running by getting them remote work, getting them work from home, your business depends on it. And it's not just right now. It's not just until they open everything up in May or June or whatever the conversation is happening right now. As many of you probably know, if you have children, and over 40% of people that work in American business and U.S. business have children, 50% of U.S. children right now are out of school till at least June 1st. And those of you that have school-age children know that school ends in the middle of June. So really, for all intents and purposes, 32 million children are going to be out of school until the summer, regardless of whether or not the governors or whomever open doors again. Those people are going to have to be able to work from home, because quite honestly, it's very difficult to let a 10 or 12-year-old child sit on the couch while mom and dad are at work and go through a Google Classroom to do their math or to do their science. And so the vast, at least a large plurality, if not the vast majority of our employees that are working with us are going to have some level of function where they can work at least part-time, if not full-time, remotely from home. Now, I talked about when we're going to open things up. That's an interesting question because really nobody knows when we're going to quote unquote open things up. And if you follow Twitter, you're probably crying like I do every time you read it. But it's like when you look at the news, when you look at what's going on, no one really knows when they're going to quote unquote open the economy. And it may be opening in stages, it may be open in geographic areas. So it may open sooner on the coasts, it may close quicker in the middle. No one really knows. And this thing is going to come in phases. And so the summer and the fall, there may be other small closures and other things going on. But the government is basically saying, when it's healthy, we're going to allow businesses to open back up again. And let's talk about the government, because quite honestly, in a poll just released this weekend that I took a look at, 37% of Americans have a good amount or a great deal of trust in our government when it comes to talking about the coronavirus. Whether they believe it or don't believe it, whether they think it's this or that, I'm not here to debate policy or politics. What I am saying is the majority of Americans out there don't believe what's coming from the government as far as the virus. So if you say business is open, come on in, are your workers going to come? Are they going to be able to go ahead and say, yes, I'm going to come into work every day? Or are they going to say, you know what? I need to figure out a way to work from home. I mean, when will things open up? We don't know. But the thing is, this is the reality. This is what I call the new normal. And honestly, this picture may be what your end users look like for the foreseeable future. Now, I have a family, so probably without the smiles, but this is exactly what we're going to be faced with. And what does this mean for IT teams? What does this mean for the people on the call that are looking to see that they need to construct some way in order to get this done? Now, after I grew up in Detroit, I joined the Army. And I joined the Army and I was part of something called the U.S. Army Intelligence and Security Command, Army INSCOM. And we were the guys that called them code breakers. That's what we were, code breakers. And we had a saying. We had our brigade this was our brigade saying, always out front. We were always the first ones out, meaning that we were out front. We were the tip of the spear. We were the ones that were going ahead and getting everything, collecting all the data, getting everything ready so the troops could move, so the planes could land, so these things could happen. That's what we did. And that's what we in IT are really now. That we are being tasked. We are being talked to about how we need to provide remote or work from home capabilities for our workers. And not only our workers, for ourselves. Many IT teams need to engage in what we call like a lights out, doors closed framework for IT system management. Many IT admin functions should be done remotely by you individuals right now on the phone to be able to provide you the capability to do that. Business continuity, at least in the United States right now, but definitely, but potentially for the world, depends on the people within the IT department. We are the tip of the spear when it comes to this. We are the ones that are going to go ahead and make sure business is being done, regardless of whether or not we can have the door open, the front door open or not. So how do we scale up remote working and remote collaboration, right? Well, one of the best ways is that we need to go ahead and ensure that all of our employees have the tools they need in order to work remotely. And this is important, all of the employees, because many of us have and are parts of organizations that we have part of our organization that works remotely, or we have a flex schedule where they work 3 weeks out or 3 days out of every 5 and they work remote. Or maybe we have a couple of contractors that work remotely. But we need to take a look at how we look at our systems, our legacy systems, and get our legacy employees. These are all the people in the cubicles that have, their pictures of their family and their plants and their little troll dolls, and they come in and they work 8-10 hours a day, and they sit in the kitchen and they eat and then they go home. Work is one of the biggest things that they do when they come in throughout the day. Those people, we need to figure out a way to get them working remotely. And these are the people that work on systems like your HR systems, your payroll systems, ERPs, your CRMs, unified communication, all of your collaboration tools. Obviously many of us have remote email, but your file stores. So you're going to be tasked, and you're most likely, because you're on this webinar, being tasked with looking at this. And I would say probably for most of you, You've either been talking about this or thinking about this or trying to get this funded within your IT budgets for a long time. And again, your IT leadership, your C levels have probably given you the Heisman on it. You probably haven't done as much as you wanted to or much as you thought you needed to because you just didn't have the budget approval for it. And now you're being faced right now with your CEO or COO or your CIO walking in and saying, you know what, I got to send everybody home. We got to make this work. And this is what you're left with right now. And this is what you're left with. You're left with a system which is primarily designed for on-premises employees. And now you have to remote size it. You have to figure out how to get Janice in HR to get her working from her kitchen table 15 miles away. Every day, not just on off hours, but every day getting her work within the HR system. So your reality and our reality and the people that concentrate in IT right now, your reality does bite because we are looking at this. Our front doors are closed and we have to figure out a way to get to this. And it's not just Zoom. It's not just getting people on WebEx. You know this. No matter, regardless of what the media says or anything else, you know it's a lot more, it's a lot harder than just getting people on web conference, right? Salespeople, accounting people, developers, HR, marketing, administrative support. Many of these people, if not the majority of them, are going to have to work from home part-time for the foreseeable future. Now, others within your organizations, like the people that need to be on-prem, like factory workers, people in retail, people in healthcare, you, as an organization, you owe it to them to get all of the non-on-prem essential people out so the on-prem people can socially distance and they can go ahead and do the things they need to do in order to work. There's really no reason for Janice from accounting to be at work if she doesn't need to be. She doesn't need to be breathing that air. She doesn't need to be taking up that space. She doesn't need to be potentially a viral threat to someone else. She needs to be able to work, or he, or whomever it is, needs to be able to work from home. So the people that desperately need to be on-prem, because here in Seattle, we've realized that you can't build a plane working remotely. At least the manufacturing people can. The engineers and everybody else can. All those people can. The support staff can. But the people that need to actually turn the nuts and crank the screws, those are the people that need to be on site. So you need to ensure as many people within your organization as possible can work remotely. Now in IT, and to kind of carry the metaphor back for airlines, for IT people, it's important first for you guys and for us to put our masks on first. And we know what that means. We've all been on a plane and we all seen the videos where they say, when the masks fall, put your mask on first, and then you can help other people. So these are some pointers that I've gleaned from a couple articles, specifically the one that you see linked right down here. But this is something that I believe IT people really need to take away as best practices in order to put their own mask on first so you can help the rest of your organization. Firstly, if you don't already have it, you need to have a daily stand-up meeting with your IT team. This can be done remotely, and as a stand-up, it can be sitting or standing. It doesn't matter what it is. But you need to be able to go ahead and involve all your IT members, make each other accountable to each other about their respective tasks. Keep it short, but it's a daily check-in. It's a daily check-in for people. Also, you need to utilize, you need to over-communicate and utilize other technologies to increase social interaction in a remote setting. If you're working remotely and your IT staff is working remotely, we all know work from home can be lonely. So you need to do physical things. You need to plan like virtual coffee breaks. You need to go ahead and create an atmosphere where your people can keep talking to each other that are not necessarily sitting next to each other. You need to over communicate. Work from home means I cannot just get out of my desk, get off my cubicle, walk across the office and talk to another person. I physically can't do that. So I need to create a system and I need to create a process where my team members can go and do that. You know, for instance, after an email is sent, I would also send a text message to the recipient or ping him on Slack or Skype or something else like that, just to go ahead and make sure that I'm over communicating in that level. Now, when you're in the office, that seems really redundant. But when you're 50 miles away from each other and you haven't seen each other for 3 weeks, It's a lot less redundant and it's a lot more necessary. And then fun stuff like utilizing emojis and trying to keep it a little bit light, because some of these things we're talking about here are pretty heavy. This is a heavy conversation to have. But the fact is that we need to be able to keep our spirits up and our morale up in our teams in order to do that. Now, it also comes to time management. One of the things IT organizations need to be able to do is create a daily checklist. And I know people hate daily checklists, they hate punch lists. But whether you work in an office or work from home, it's really essential to set that schedule for the day, what projects, what tickets you're going to answer, those types of things in order to keep that. You need to be able to really maximize and utilize the set of online tools that you've created or collected for yourselves. And that's Skype, that's Zoom, we're going to talk about it. That's Parallels Remote Application Server. That's other functions and other capabilities that you need to keep your stuff remote. You also need to schedule short breaks within your day. That's a big one for me. I know that's a big one for my teams that I've worked with in the past, but you need to be able to go ahead and do that, because you don't want to wake up one morning and think it's Blur's Day. I mean, you need to have some semblance of time passing and of things changing. So making sure you have frequent short breaks will help a great deal. And you need to shut it down. You need to avoid work creep. One of the things I've incorporated for my own team myself is every day at between 4:30 and 5 o'clock, when I'm ending my day, and I end my day that way because I start very early because we have East Coast customers, and I'm on the West Coast here, is that at 4:30, 5 o'clock, I send a Skype message to everyone saying, hey, great job. Thanks for this. I'm going to be offline if you need me, blah, blah. And I make that physical thing to do that. Saying my work day is over. Because right now, working from home, I don't have a car to get in. I don't have a commute to do. I'm trying to avoid work creep. So 10 o'clock on a Tuesday night, I'm not doing work on the couch. I'm actually there with my family, experiencing family time. And then there's the logistical. You need to prepare workspace for yourself. I know we talked about Janice working at the kitchen table, but Janice needs her own workspace and you need your own workspace. You need to be somewhere away where you can have a little privacy and where you can have the capability to make sure that you don't have audio feedback or random dogs running through like I would normally do. Other things you could do is, things like a comfortable earpiece or a headset. Get that, get that and deliver it to your people so they can have it. No one wants to put a cell phone up to their face 8 hours a day. Lowering your video resolution or utilizing just audio as opposed to audio and video when you're doing things like webinars or meetings like that also helps a great deal. And it actually helps with your deal as far as with resources as well, we'll talk about. And for parents out there, there's two types of people, those who have kids and those who know people that have kids. If you have kids, you need to keep your children in your plan. We talked about 32 million children that are going to be out of school for the foreseeable future. They are part of our existence. They're going to be sitting on the couch doing their Google Classroom while Janet is in the office or at the kitchen table doing her AP payables work, right? So we need to be able to go ahead and build that in within our own teams, within our IT teams. And we need to be able to schedule breaks with our children. From 11 to 12 is a hard lunch, right? And we go ahead and schedule that time. And for those of us with no children, we have to realize that other people have children as well. So these meetings may be put off. Things may happen that necessitate a break or something being pushed. And we need to be cognizant of that. Now, for IT teams specifically, there's a couple things you really need to do to get end users working from home. You need to figure out what positions are the most important, meaning what job descriptions are the most important that need to work from home. You need to determine what physical systems they have and whether those physical systems are robust enough to work from a work from home framework. You need to figure out which software applications are the most important. One of the biggest things is peripheral needs. Many people still print, many people still scan in their day-to-day jobs. They can't do that from home. So you need to figure out ways that they can go ahead and do that. And you need to create some level of an expectation of support and service, how IT tickets are going to be answered, how problems are going to be resolved. And there's a number of different questions here that we'll provide in the information that we send out after this, like what additional bandwidth do you need? what technologies can you utilize to boost bandwidth? How can how can you scale up? We had a customer that had originally 50 users that needed to work remotely, and in the course of a week, they went from 50 users to 500 users in the course of 3 business days, where they asked us that they needed to roll up these people. You need to be able to create systems and have functions that scale that way. One of the best ways you know how to do it, and again, this isn't a Parallels product, but this is one of the ones that I've utilized in the past and I think would be good for you, is to go ahead and create these remote work lists, these templates, in order to go ahead and say, this one is from Monday.com. It's a great product, but I'm sure you have others where you have like, what are the tickets coming in? What are the requests? If you have a ticketing system, you need to be very cognizant that when people send out a trouble ticket from a work from home desk, it's a lot different than sending it from the cubicle that they're working in the office. They have no insight into what you're doing. They don't have any interaction. They have no idea what's going on in the IT department. So you need to be able to not only understand that and communicate that. You need to have daily team tasks, right? You need to know what everyone within your IT organization is doing, what they're tasked with, what those priorities are. We have all these systems in place, and a lot of them we do pretty well when we're in person on premise, but if we're working remotely, these are detrimentally important to our organization, because if we're not tracking this, if the things within this system, and it doesn't have to be this system, it can be a shared spreadsheet that you have or a Google sheet that you have that you're sharing with your IT team. But if this is not being updated and looked at on a regular basis by everyone in your team, you're going to quickly get lost. And once you get lost, it's going to be very hard to dig yourself out if you're working from remote and all of your end users are working remotely as well. And then you need to have the ability where you have documents and resources and everything else that not only you, but your end users can utilize. So what is all this going to look like? What's the physical, what's the diagram of what your work from home organization is going to look like now and for the foreseeable future? Well, you're going to have your physical data stores, and it's going to be somewhere on the cloud. You're going to have a whole bunch of users. You're going to have end users that are employed. You're going to have contractors. You're going to have remote offices, peripherals, and you're going to have a whole bunch of devices out there and different ways people are accessing your applications, your software, your data sources. And lastly, that last mile, you're really not going to have control over, because the way they're connecting is through their cable modems, and they're connecting through their ISPs. And not only the last mile, but the last 5 feet, because most of your people are going to be working on wireless networks, home wireless networks. And you're going to have to figure out exactly what that looks like, and how do you troubleshoot something that's actually a problem with your pipe, their wireless connection. How do you, like, there's a whole bunch of things that you really have to take into consideration. And you have to figure out what's your responsibility and what's the end user responsibility. And then at the end of the day, you have to worry about the problems we've always had in IT, right? The problems we've always had with end users. And if any of you were lucky enough to see the Saturday Night Live this weekend, where they had an instance of an organization going remote, and they had people on a Zoom call, it was incredibly funny, because two of the cast members within this Zoom call were notoriously non-technical people. They've never worked technically before. They don't know how cameras work. One of the characters actually said, "I got an email address just for this call." Right? So it's like, it's humorous when we take a look at it on Saturday Night Live, but it's realistic when we talk about it within the world that we find ourselves in right now. This world we live in right now is going to introduce new challenges for businesses who aren't used to either supporting or providing technology or support to a remote workforce, because many of us are going to be working for companies in the foreseeable future that the majority of work that is being done is going to be done digitally, and it's going to be done remotely. And that's the world we're in. So what do we do here at Parallels? And why am I having this conversation with you about it? And why am I bringing up all these scary things to talk to you about remote work and work from home? Well, we understand here at Parallels, and one of the things that we know, having been uh, a company doing this for the last 20 years, is we understand that the vast majority of companies and organizations out there still use the traditional desktop for most on-prem end users. That's what they use. That's what they're used to. Listen, most people have laptops. That's exactly the case. But I could walk you into my office here. Well, not right now because nobody's in it. But I could walk you into my office in Bellevue during the old normal days, and I could go to someone's desk in accounting or someone's desk in marketing, and that laptop could have been glued to their desk in their cubicle because it's never used. It's for all intents and purposes a desktop machine, right? And they're utilizing it as a traditional desktop. So most end users that aren't already remote are used to working traditional desktop capabilities. And even though many of the apps and applications that we use right now are web enabled, and I put air quotes, you can't see me, but I'm putting air quotes when I say web enabled, or cross-platform, air quotes again, end users still like and prefer the Windows applications because, as I wrote here, they're often still more robust, right? And it's the fact is that, you know, just something simple as we're using Outlook for Mac versus using Outlook for Windows. It's a vast difference on the Windows application. And that's from a software company that's invested millions of dollars in developing Outlook for Mac. How about for your legacy ERP application or your legacy logistics or your other line of business application, which only has a Windows interface? What's the challenge with that? And you know, and that doesn't even work across platform. Or you have an ERP system that has a web enabled interface, and when you dial up the web, it's 70% of what the Windows device does or the Windows application does. 70% is fine if you're working on a Saturday, but if you're working Monday through Friday from home, 70% doesn't cut it. They need 100% of the application's capabilities at their remote location. Now, remote users also suffer from peripheral issues like printers and scanners. Many people that work remote on an every other day basis, or at times they'll go ahead and save up their prints, or they'll send something to the printer and they'll wait for it when they get into the office. They're not coming to the office anytime soon. And what if someone is processing invoices or electronically, or what if someone needs to scan something in, or if they need to print something out? How are they doing that with their home dot matrix printer? How is that working? And so it's one of the functions and one of the things that you have to think about. And also the biggest blocker, really when it comes down to it, with these end users that have never really worked remote is the training, is the capability of how someone works remotely that is used to coming into the office, taking off their coat, going to the kitchen, pouring a cup of coffee, sitting down at their keyboard, turning on their machine, and booting up their machine. That's how most on-prem legacy knowledge workers do their job every day. That's a complete different way someone does it at home. So you need to figure that out. So what we do and what we've been doing at Parallels here for 20 years is we're providing a set of systems and a set of applications that allow your end users to access full-on desktops, applications, and data from any device they want, anywhere, at any time. We do it easily, we can ramp up very quickly, and we keep the end user experience that they're used to with their native Windows application. And that's what we do. And we've been doing it for a while. We have a worldwide base of operation. We're headquartered, as you can see, in Seattle, Washington, but we have offices all over the world. Our workforce right now, as I speak, is 100% work remote and work from home. We've been doing this for over 20 years, and over 50,000 businesses trust us with their virtualization capabilities. So what I really want to talk about right now is how we help you and help this process with what we call Remote Application Server. Remote Application Server is an all-in-one application delivery and VDI solution. What it does is it allows your end users to securely access virtual workspaces from anywhere, on any device, at any time. Our system is cloud ready, and our software empowers organizations to embrace what we call, quote unquote, digital transformation. It provides you a central management of the IT infrastructure, and it streamlines stuff like multi-cloud deployment. It allows you to reinforce data security, and it improves process automation. It's super flexible, and it's had a very scalable architecture that allows organizations like yours to quickly adapt to increased business demands like you're experiencing right now and like most of our customers are experiencing right now. When you break down the key benefits, when you really look at it, the very first one for us is superior user experience, and I'm going to talk very briefly about that. Our user experience provides the capability that the look and feel of the way the application works at that desktop machine is exactly the way it will work on their Mac at home, on their Google Chrome, on their iPad, however else it works. We also provide a level of enhanced data security so you can be sure that your data is secure, even when you're dealing with that last mile or that last 5 feet where you're not in control of that bandwidth, you're not in control of that network connection. It provides you the agility to go ahead and roll up business readiness incredibly quickly, and you can go from 5 users to 500 users in a couple hours as opposed to a couple of days. It makes it super easy to deploy, configure, and maintain. And hopefully what we do is we not only keep you productive, but we reduce your total cost of ownership when you're talking about it. Now, I know I'm running a little long, so we do have a little 90-second video here about it. I'm not going to play it here, but it's going to be part of this presentation. And when you go ahead and get the recording and the link to this, you can go ahead and take a look at it you want. But really, it's a little cartoon that shows you exactly what we do. But in the instance of what are the biggest impediments to work to this process? I mean, we've all heard about VDI, we've all heard about desktop as a service, virtual app deployment and delivery. Many of us are probably doing some of that right now. What are the biggest impediments? We see 2, and that's why we address them with Parallel's remote application server. But we see 2. The first 2, and they're kind of linked. We call it the lack of the easy button. The first is there is no easy button for users to utilize apps or desktops remotely, keeping the same user experience. That's a big problem. Janet from accounting, if her ERP system or accounting system doesn't work exactly the same way at her kitchen table than it works at her cubicle, you know there's going to be problems. There's going to be trouble tickets. There's going to be emails. There's going to be long calls. You're going to remote into her machine. There's going to be 82 things you're going to have to do in order to make sure she can do her job, all because her user experience is different. The second thing is most of these types of systems that are out there are incredibly complex, and they're cost prohibitive. And there's no easy button to ramp up users quickly. I can tell you this, within our organization alone, within the first couple weeks of this crisis, we saw I think it was at least a 20% increase in the number of licenses our current users were utilizing, and they increased exponentially over a couple of days. And they were able to do it relatively quickly. So first, let's talk about UX. Let's talk about this UX. We provide flexible work from home with what we call a seamless user experience. Not only do we allow or enable the Windows application to work on any device just like it works on the Windows device. So if you're utilizing a Chromebook, or if you're utilizing a Mac, or utilizing an iPad, that ERP system, F5 and Tab and all the other things that Janet knows how to do, they're all going to work within that other device. So it doesn't really matter what device she utilizes to get on that application. But we also enable the capability to say, you know what? If Janice is used to doing a drag or a swipe or a click, those native gestures that are on that device, whether it be an Android or an iPad or whatever it is, a Google Chromebook, she has the capability, and your end users has to have the capability to do that. So not only can Janice go ahead and hit F5 within her ERP system, she can do a drag, or she can zoom utilizing her 2 fingers and expand them so she can see what's on the physical scanned invoice that she needs to see from her iPad on her couch. So she has that capability to do this. So we provide that level of capabilities. Our web access, we have an HTML5 client that provides a rich workspace experience. And this includes for support for what we're going to talk about, but local peripherals and drag and drop. So really, your end users can continue working on active applications even when they're popping off and switching on the networks. And these HTML5 clients can be customized to fit your specific departmental or user demands. And that's incredibly important because the interface that your salespeople utilize and the desktops that your marketing people utilize are going to be drastically different than what accounting and HR and others utilize. And the ability to go ahead and create this user experience that is comfortable to the end user, to your new work from home end user, is going to help you as an IT person in the number of trouble tickets and in the number of calls and in the number of hand holding that you have to do in order with this new end user. It also provides a level of multitasking. So you can run multiple applications on your device. You can run a full Windows session on your device, or you can run just specific Windows apps on your device. You can switch between them on demand. There's functionality like copy and paste and drag and drop and native gestures can work as a multitasking capability. And then for peripherals, if Janice needs to go ahead and print from the ERP system, she can do it from her iPad. She can do it from her Android device while she's walking her dog. She doesn't need to be sitting at her desk. She doesn't need to be sitting at her kitchen table with her IBM PC, her Dell, or her MacBook. We provide that capability. We can also help you utilize local printers. So Janice can not only print to the network printer that's at work, she can also print to the local printer, that dot matrix that's sitting next to her, from the ERP system without having to do a whole bunch of rigmarole and moving stuff around in order to get that done. Again, this is all about a seamless user experience, because if you can provide a seamless user experience to your end users, the pressure and the stress of working from home or working remotely is going to be drastically reduced for them. And they'll be able to be more productive. They'll be able to keep your business running. Now, the second impediment that we talked about was that second one, a lack of an easy button for you in IT, for the people that need to go ahead and put all this together, as that CEO said, make it happen. Well, here's how we help you make it happen with IT agility and business readiness. We provide what we call effortless application delivery in VDI. We provide you the capability to create and deliver virtual desktops, applications, and virtual machines from any hypervisor to any user on any device that you want. You have the ability to flexibly manage VMs and all their templates, and which allows you the capability to instantly provision virtual desktops or published applications to end users. Hey, you got a new contractor and you need to roll them up and they need to have access to that logistics program. Bing, it's done, because you're already able to deliver it and you're able to deliver that app. It provides you a level of flexible deployment, right? So the capability, you support multi-cloud deployments, including Azure and Amazon. You can be very agile with flexible architecture, with remote desktop session host, Windows Server, Hyper-V, Citrix Hypervisor, Nutanix, all at scale computing, all of the ones that you either are currently using or looking at using, we can provide you that capability. Again, to make it easy, we provide you task automation. So you can save time, effort, and energy. And while you're looking at that spreadsheet or you're looking at that list of things that your IT team needs to do, you can automate a lot of these processes within Parallel's remote application server. So you can make them shoot off by themselves. And that's less stress on your own IT team in order rolling this stuff out. And it's super straightforward managing. We're kind of like the Lord of the Rings when it comes to this. It's one ring to rule them all. We have one console to rule it all. It's a single pane of glass. And what it allows you to do is to centralize and manage the complete IT infrastructure. We provide you traffic light indicators that provide snapshots on health of each component. The help desk console, the web console itself, provides administrators the ability to monitor your infrastructure, perform all your tasks, and troubleshoot all your sessions from any HTML browser. So what does this mean? Not only does this mean that Janet, or Janice, I forget what I've been calling her throughout the whole webinar, can work from her iPad to do her payroll or to do her AP, but your IT people as well, they can be walking the dog or taking out the garbage, and they can pick up the Android or they can pick up whatever remote device they have while they're working from home, and they can open that HTML5 browser and they can monitor the infrastructure or perform a task. Again, it's the two things. It's UX and it's IT agility and business readiness, and that's what we provide. We also provide one set of features and one set of functions. Unlike many of our competitors, we don't have a entry-level product and an enterprise product and an SMB product. If you have 15 users or you have 15,000, it's the same application. It's the same functions, it's the same features. You have load balancing and multi-tenant architecture if you have 25 users, the same way you do if you have 1,500 or 2,500 users. Every feature that you see, every product feature that you see in this slide is accessible for any amount of users. I know we have some very big companies on the call, and I know we have some very small ones. Parallels Remote Application Server is the same for both, which requires a lot less training, a lot less certification process. It's a very simple, very easy application to utilize. And you're looking at an install process and a roll-up process that takes hours, not days. So when we come to it, the key benefits that we look at how we help you guys, meet this need of working from home in the age of Corona is first providing you a capability so your work from home workers have the same UX that they have in the office. It really cuts down on the stress. It cuts down on the need for them to be bothering you about how does this work? How does that work? I can't roll this up. This icon doesn't open. All these other things that you're going to be dealing with, and you probably have already dealt with a whole bunch of end users that have never really worked from home before, right? Our mobile clients help you transform really any virtual application into a fully fledged mobile app, so they can access it again as they're walking the dog or as they're sitting on their couch with their kids, while their kids are doing Google Classroom. Now, the data security, we help secure the data by centrally controlling and monitoring that user access. So deploying RAS, Remote Application Server, reduces the risk of data loss and malicious activity, and it protects you from that last mile and that last 5 feet, which you don't have control over. And you're not going to get control over. So being able to virtualize and secure all that stuff and provide this level of access, protects you from nefarious actors trying to get into the network. Obviously, we've talked about IT agility and business readiness, about how we can quickly adapt to your business needs that are changing automatically by scaling your infrastructure, right? It's very easy to deploy and very easy to maintain and configure. We streamlined the deployment and maintenance of VDI and RDSH infrastructures while providing a central set of tools that are directly available from a single console, which is also web-enabled. So you can access it from your desktop or your iPad or from wherever you have an HTML5 browser. And then at the end of the day, we're a pretty inexpensive solution. MSRP, right off the top, we're $99 per concurrent user. That's it. I mean, and then for volume, we have different kinds of things going on, but that's it. There's no extra for training. There's no extra for installation help. There's no extra for anything else. If you have 15 users or you have 1,000 users, that's what you're looking at as far as rolling up for your concurrent users. And we are a concurrent. We're not a named user basis. So we have a concurrent structure in order to do that. We also have a special program that we based upon the Microsoft SPLA program, that if you are an MSP or an ISV, if you provide software or an interface to multiple end users, we have a capability that not only you can go ahead and deliver that, but you can deliver that on a month-by-month basis. So your concurrent users are tracked differently on different months. So let's say you sell a software program or you supply a software program to universities. In normal times, universities, they'd have very heavy usage in May, and then in the summertime, that usage would drop off because people aren't in school in the summertime. And that's the way we go ahead and structure that offering out, where you're paying on a monthly basis only for the licenses that you utilize. And that's part of our SPLA program. And if you're interested, we can talk about that. So how do we move forward with this? Well, everyone on this call, we usually have like a 15-day trial or a 7-day. We're providing everyone on this call that wants it a 30-day free trial of Parallels Remote Application Server. You can either try it on-prem in your infrastructure, or you can run it on Azure or Amazon Web Services. We have that capability. We will provide you not only the trial, we will provide you the technical support for installation. We'll provide you the capabilities to talk to us about proof of concept. We'll provide you pre-sales technical support in order to get it running. And we're even opening up our regular, we have a certification, a single certification class that we provide to our customers. We'll open that up to people from this that have registered for this webinar as well, if you want to go ahead and do that. And you have that capability of doing that. You can also engage us through the website or through the email that we're going to send after this call in regards to taking a larger look at a demo, or maybe even looking at a bigger proof of concept. But everyone on this call will have that capability to try for the next 30 days. And the reason we're opening up for 30 days is we want to give you the capability to look at exactly what you're going to need over the next couple months, and really the next potentially couple years. Because this, and again, this is me talking. Just Derek, who's been doing this for a while, I do believe that what we're facing right now is going to be a longer term solution. It's going to be a longer term need for remote users and other users like that. And we're going to need to structure the way and change the way we do business. And many of our legacy on-prem people are going to have to get used to use from working from home. And we're here to help you as you meet with that. Now, we do have a team of professionals that is able to go ahead and help you within my sales organization. This is everybody that works for me here in the Americas, and they are structured by territory. So when you get the slide deck, you'll be able to see the contact information. So if you don't want to talk to me anymore because you've heard enough of my voice for the last hour, you can directly reach out to your Parallels account representative, and they can work you through the trial. They can work you through a demo process. They can give you quotations. They can do everything else that you want to do there. Also, if you want to reach out to me directly, here's all my contact information, and I can go ahead and provide you whatever you need. Again, everyone on this call will get a copy of the presentation. They're also going to get a link to the recording. And if right now you have any questions, I can go ahead and answer them. Yes, one question was, will there be a link to today's presentation video? Yes, there will. After this presentation is over, you will get a link. The link will be provided to you. You will get a link to the recording. You'll also get a copy of this presentation that you'll be able to use for yourselves. And I'll just open it up to any other questions that you may have in regards to what we do here at Parallels, or what our thought process is on remote from work. And like I said, we are a remote work from home. We are right now, as we speak, 100% work from home. There's no one that has a parallels.com email address that's driving it into any office, and that's worldwide. So we're kind of really, we're eating our own dog food, as it were, as far as the vernacular is for software companies. And it's working swimmingly well. Okay, so we have a couple of technical questions here. So does RAS support remote scanning as well as remote printing? Let's see here if we have someone on the line to go ahead and help us with that. We have a couple of people. Let's see here. I'm looking right now, and I'm going to go ahead and maybe call on somebody that's been doing this for a while. James, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. James is one of our account representatives that have been working on the RAS product for a while. James, could you briefly answer about printing and scanning and how peripherals work within RAS? You're unmuted. Hello, James. Well, it looks like James is having some technical situations with WebEx. So what we're going to do is, I know the individual that asked that question. I see their name. I'll go ahead and send you that answer directly as far as for the remote scanning as well as the remote printing as well. I know on-prem scanning, yes, but we definitely want to go ahead and make sure you get the answers for remote scanning. Enhanced data security question. Is there a feature that can prevent screenshot of confidential data being printed? That's a very good question. It's one has not risen with me yet before, and we'll make sure we get you that question answered too. Thank you for asking that question. Let's see here. Screenshot question again. Fantastic. Parallels RAS. Parallels RAS, we are currently on version 17.1. So we've been doing this for quite a few years. This isn't something we cooked up in the garage a couple of weeks ago. We've been doing this quite a long period of time. And it's a very mature product. It's a very robust product, but it's also very scalable. So its features and functions, we've really kind of worked within our end user community and to provide this level. It is a software subscription, which is a yearly software subscription. It is it's not a perpetual licensing with maintenance and everything else. So it's $99 per concurrent user a year, and you get everything included with that, all bells and whistles. There's no need to have additional maintenance. You don't pay extra to get your trouble tickets with our help desk up higher on the chain. So it's just, you know, we went ahead and priced it that way after the many years of working that process. Any other questions? Yes, Parallels has a couple other products as well. Someone asked about the couple other products. We have two other products that we sell that are within the same ball of wax. One of them is a plugin to Microsoft System Center Configuration Manager, which allows you to utilize SCCM to manage your Macs and your mobile devices just the way you manage your PCs and your Windows-based PCs. So for those of you that have that responsibility within your IT departments and you're currently running Microsoft System Center Configuration Manager, and you've got remote users that are now using Macs, and you want to make sure that you've managing those operating systems, making sure you're pushing patches out to them, making sure you're doing that, we can help you with that as well. Our legacy product, the product that we've known for a number of years, is Parallels Desktop, which is the first and best way people utilize and they run full Windows sessions on their Mac devices. And the primary end user community that utilizes that is we're very heavy in software development. And especially from a remote setting, if you have software developers that are working remotely now, that are working on Macs, that are developing software for Windows-based applications, they may have a hard time rolling up virtual machines that are accessed remotely to go ahead and test their code against. Providing Parallels Desktop on their Mac device allows you the capability for them to switch from their code writing on the Mac to deploying it and to testing it in a Windows session or multiple Windows sessions as they need to right on the fly. So it gives you that capability as well. So we have that features and functionalities as well. So those are the three products that we have. The Parallels Remote Access or Remote Application Server is our primary way we help people work from home. Thank you so much for everybody that attended the webinar. We'll go ahead and provide you the information, not only the links, but all the information from the webinar as well. I know this is a weird time for everyone. We're here to help. So if there's anything that we can do, help you get your end users working remotely, working from home, please feel free to avail yourselves to us. One of the things that we really appreciate over this last month or so is many of our customers have been able to ramp up their number of remote users exponentially very, very quickly. And that's kept, although their physical doors are open, it's kept their virtual doors open, which means their people are employed, they're not furloughed, and they're bringing home paychecks, and the company is moving forward. And that's really, as we move forward, that's really one of the most important things we as IT professionals can do, is we can make sure we keep those virtual doors open so everybody is gainfully employed moving forward as we move in through some scary times. So thanks so much for your time today. Thanks so much for jumping on the webinar. I appreciate it. And feel free to reach out to me directly if I can be of any help whatsoever. Thanks again, and please have a rest of your, please make the rest of your day wonderful. Take care.